Corne. Welcome to F.A.C.E. I'm going to make you the presenter, buddy. Looking forward to hearing your voice and seeing your screen. You have the option to screen share to show some instruments if you'd like, and your website at Unum Capital.
Technically speaking, it's not exactly my website. It's the company I work for.
Well, that's what I mean. Okay. All right. Well, nice to meet you.
It's the company that does my licensing. In South Africa, you need to actually have a license to give any sort of financial advice.
Wow.
One can say it has to happen that way. But in South Africa, for a fact, you definitely need a Category 1 license to give advice. You need a Category 2 license to actually trade for people. I am one of only 2 people that's allowed to trade Forex at this point in time for anyone in South Africa.
Only 2 people in South Africa are licensed to trade FX?
Well, are licensed to trade FX for someone else.
Oh, interesting. All right, well, it's the only country that's not saturated then. Good call by God for you to be born there and love FX and be one of the only ones there.
For FX, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm not so sure about the rest.
All right, Corne.
But we managed quite a few.
Okay, well, I know where you're at now. And, you are an FX trader, and it says you're also, with your license, a portfolio manager. What I'm always interested in, and I believe that our viewers and listeners are too, is how you got started in the business. What was it like for you at the beginning of your journey to become a trader?
Whoa, it was difficult at first. I had such a lot of information wrongly given to me. You must, the listeners must excuse my English. It's obviously an African, Southern African English. So I'm going to try my best as relevant as possible. But it was very difficult. In South Africa, we don't have a lot of information. We don't really have decent mentors willing to give you the time of day when it comes to FX. When you come to portfolio management, these clients, they generally come to you because of a lack of information. There's no one really in South Africa willing to take on Forex and teach it that's not scamming people.
Wow.
It's
okay.
Really, we have a lack.
You guys have unlimited access to the internet, so I mean, you can.
I'm actually very happy that we've got internet to actually talk to you today. We are lucky to have. I had a satellite put outside to make sure that this session does not go down wrong. We've got very, very limited internet. We're just discovering fiber. We've got copper cables everywhere. They get stolen. It's always a problem. So it's amazing.
All the wealth that the country had from natural resources all these years that it almost sounds third world to me.
It is. It has gone from first world to third world in maybe 5 years' time.
Okay, so that was going to bring me to a question. I mean, you're going to tell us about the beginning, but with all the political strife happening in South Africa, has Iran disconnected from following gold prices, and it's more
politically oriented, and the problem is it's more based on hope now. It's selling the dream, or buying the dream, selling the fact. It's no longer buying the technical analysis. It's now rather buying the dream, because we dream and we hope that the last few weeks have actually brought us to a point where we will start gaining international traction, and we will now fix whatever has happened wrongly over the last 10 years or the decade and a half. But you know how that works out.
It doesn't take long. It doesn't take very long for having the wrong leadership in your country to ruin a country, does it?
Exactly. And right now, up until this point in time, leadership has ruined this country. It has. We are nowhere near any form of progress on the political front at the moment. We are hoping. We are praying and we are hoping. And that's about the best we've got. We've got no substance.
Well, I'm praying and hoping for you and your countrymen too, Corne. So, all right. So you didn't have much access to the internet. So you're probably very much self-taught, or did you have any books or anyone influence you on your style of technical trading? I did read your bio, and you do believe in automating things. So I'm just interested if there were, obviously use candlesticks. Was Steve Neeson an influence in your trading? He's kind of the Americanized version. Huh?
Steve Neeson was one of the biggest contributors to my candlestick trading. As you can see by the screen I shared, that I don't really believe too much in indicators. So I like a naked chart. I do use a little of MACD just to see where I'm at. But Steve Neeson has been a very, very big offer in my life to get to the point where I am now. Given the fact that I've been busy with this for 8 years, and I actually only got my license 2 years ago. Okay. This has been a real journey. It has been a real journey. Right now, where we're at the moment, I manage about 35 million rands of assets. That's about $3.2 million worth. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you take South Africa versus America, that's quite a large sum of money. Our entry-level hedge fund managers manage about 50 million rands. So when we look at it in that form or that aspect, for someone alone at home working under one Unum Capital, that's quite a large amount of assets. So we work.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been
I'm going to guess that you're getting good performance because that's what people chase, and they're chasing you because you've been trading well. How many years did it take you to make a breakthrough to start being a consistent performer? Everyone has drawdowns, but for you to be able to say, you know what, I've got it now. How many years?
For almost 5 years, eh?
You know what? I get that a lot. It's almost like a college degree, but worth a lot more.
And I want to almost tell you that it was mostly psychology.
Yeah, it's not. It's all in our heads. It's not your system. It's not your method. It's all in our heads.
The system would work on off. Sometimes I would just let it go and try something else, come back to the system, redo it, and then once again get into the flow. The system would never fail for prolonged periods of time, but psychologically, the mind would fail for prolonged periods of time.
Yes. Okay. So you made that decision. So tell us how you automate your FX trading. When I was young with a bigger ego, Corne, you know what I used to say about systemic trading or systems? I used to say that they were for people who didn't know how to trade.
I used to start out with that same feeling. The difference would come. The difference would come at periods of peak drawdown. At periods of peak drawdown, you would start to introspect and twice decide about the same trade that you would have taken yesterday, automatically anyway.
Your confidence level, yeah. It's how do you manage yourself during a drawdown? Not your system. How do you manage yourself? Because isn't that when you were going through a drawdown? I know amateurs do this. They increase leverage. They blame it on an instrument. Say, "Oh, I'll never trade the yen again. The yen burned me." But it wasn't the yen that burned anybody. It was your decision process. Exactly. Or they'll give up what they've been using for years and get on the journey for the holy grail that doesn't exist. So that's when people blow up. they'll average out. They won't put stops in. So how did you manage yourself during some of your worst drawdowns psychologically? How did you come out of it?
First of all, I couldn't manage it at the beginning. I really had a tough time. Some of the guys at Unum Capital used to explain to me how they handled it. And one of the biggest things I looked at when going through a drawdown was Bill Dunn. Bill Dunn, over the years, and I mean, he's had a illustrious career, has had some big drawdowns, but he's made it. And he's made it so great that the difference between us and it's someone like Bill Dunn is he's made it already. We just need to hope that we could get there at any point in time. And some of his drawdowns has been 47%, 52%. This guy's really made it. He knows how it is to work through the hard times to get to the good times. Now, if we look back at 2016, the 7th of April, euro dollar broke out. That's the day, and it's defined in my memory for a specific reason. I'm a predominantly euro dollar trader, and that's the day I don't believe this, but it happened. And since then, it's been an uphill battle. I've had some trades underneath that 7th of April margin. I've had it there at 1.06 actually. I've had some sells there at 1.06, hoping that it would come back. Hope does not work in trading. Hope doesn't work in trading at all. And the only thing that brought me through this drawdown process was buying the euro dollar when I knew it was going up from here on in.
Right. Yeah, sometimes it takes pain to be on the other side of the trade to know you're the wrong way, and to reverse, it takes a pro to reverse. But yeah, I agree with you. I say hope is the oxygen in our life and the carbon monoxide in our trading.
Exactly. Exactly that.
Okay, so you probably reversed right before the what was it, the French elections that left a breakaway gap that really started to accelerate appreciation for the euro.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's perfectly said.
Oh, well, nice call. How about now?
Well,
what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately, Corne? Have you ever heard that?
Well, yes, I actually do that on a daily basis. So let me show you what I've got. Let's bring up a decent screen. Let's see what we have. This is euro dollar on a weekly time frame. Now, exactly the same thing that your rather English commentator of the previous podcast, if I can call it that, mentioned that when he said he doesn't know where euro is going in the next 15 minutes, let alone over the next 15 weeks. Now, this is kind of the same thing. With Donald interacting with it on the dollar side of the euro at the moment with euro dollar, we don't know. He's made a lot of indifferent comments, if I can put it that way, over the last let's say 3 months, and which has sent this in a rather indifferent direction where people would have thought it's not that. What we can see here right at the moment, let's just quickly look at the chart. If you can see the chart, we're going, this is where we're going, and this is my count at the moment. Okay, and I want to say at the moment,
so you use Elliott as one of your tools.
I use Elliott as one of my tools. It's not my major tool, and the reason I say that is I'd rather look at structure than actually counting an Elliott wave, and I'll come back to that in just a second. But if we look at this, there's a yellow highlight at the bottom here that says 26 May 2014. Do you see that, week 22?
Yes, I do.
All right. So the longest wave is always the third wave. So I will always go back there and count the longest wave that I can see in let's say a 5-year structure to start the count. Because if you have 9 Elliott wavers in your room, you'll probably find that 8 out of those 9 will count indifferently. They will not get to the same point. The only reason
and they'll give us 3 options. So we'll have before.
Oh, yes, they will, and they'll give you three options, and they'll give you a very good reason why it didn't work out the way they thought it would. They'll give you a very good reason for that, but that's after the fact. So the point here is I always try to find the longest wave, and then we'll count from there. So there you can see wave 3, A, B, and then C. So where we are at the moment, I believe, in euro dollar is I want to see a climb back to the uppermost trend line, the yellow trend line, there where C5 is marked at, and then I will short this from there.
Where's that coming in? Where's that come in for you, Corne? About 126, 127?
126.95.
Okay. I like the picture.
I will then, well, in my case, I will then remove my hedges. As I'm a hedge trader, at that point in time, I'll remove my hedges. And then I will put a re-hedge at 127, 105. The only reason for that is calculating spread. I use my own broker. I'll calculate in spread. So I want to be at 27, 100 to see if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I need to take it like a man. I'm wrong, we start afresh.
Would any certain level, what level would tell you were wrong? Would we have to go to 130, 130? Huh?
No, 127, 100 would tell me that I'm wrong. That would be above my true line. We would see new buyers anticipate this, and we'd definitely see a weakening dollar. However, if I cross the basket, I see that I believe that 2018 will be a year for a stronger dollar. The same rhetoric your previous person that was in your podcast had the same rhetoric. I do believe that this is the year of the stronger dollar, but if I'm wrong, I need to accept it, and I'll accept that at 127, 100. Then I'll accept that I've got a weakened dollar for this year as well.
Well, I've spoken to a few people that kind of have the same similar idea. In fact, a few of them after that are thinking euro could trade back down to 116. Is that in your ballpark for a downside target?
Even 112.
Okay.
If I can have a break of 1.1581, I'll take it all the way down to 1.12300.
Is that going to be, you know what the big question is that going to be happening because of risk off or a flow back into dollar denominated assets?
I believe it will be a flow back into dollar denominated assets, and I'll tell you why in a very simple word schematic. When we look at the DAX,
man. You know what? You're great. Every question I have, you've been thinking about these things. So, all right, go ahead.
So when we look at the DAX is normally traded in a euro denomination.
Right.
So technically speaking, when we look at the DAX, we look at an opposite of the euro dollar. The only reason for that is there are many US dollar denominated accounts that actually want to trade the DAX, and they need to convert to euro before they apply money to the DAX. So when we've got an outflow of the DAX, we generally see the euro getting stronger because people get their money out of the DAX into the euro, and then they select the denomination to which their accounts are. Now, on this side of the water, it's very simple. When we've got a rand-based account, we need to first convert it to dollars, then convert it to euros, and then trade the DAX. And that's a problem. So what we do is we'll take the money offshore, we'll input it into a US dollar denominated account, convert it to euros, and then trade the DAX. Still the same problem. So when we see money flowing out of the DAX, like currently out of the S&P 500, that money has to flow into euro. Out of the S&P 500, it normally flows into US dollar. So we'll look at the DAX and we'll say, when it flows out and it flows into the euro, we'll get involved. Then we'll short the euro. The reason for that is simply because of the way that they convert the cash from euro to dollar, because most people do trade in dollars in my world. In Forex, we trade in dollars. So if we overlay the DAX index and we actually add it to euro dollar, you'll see that it's quite moves away from each other and it has to come back to me. So when it's at farthest points away from each other, this is the point in time where we'll start to look at euro dollar shorts, for the only reason being profit taking and coming back to me. And I know people have spoken about this, and it's not a technical asset as such. But once we do our technical analysis, I will look at where the DAX is at when I'm trading the euro dollar. I'll definitely do that once a week at least, at the minimum.
Okay, and a strong euro is negative for the DAX, and a weak euro is positive for the DAX. So if we're about to put a high in the euro at 127, the DAX is a buy.
Perfect. And I've actually written an overlay if you or your clients want.
What about the U.S.? What about the U.S.? What do you think, Corne?
Exactly the same thing applies. Now, I would never trade the S&P 500. I'm not confident enough to understand it, but I will trade the DAX versus the euro dollar.
Okay.
And that I can actually give you. It's a template for MT4. We mostly use MT4. I can give you that template and it will show you why I make the decisions that I make.
Okay.
And as you can see on my screen right now, I have a buy on 1.22945 and I've got a buy at 123.95. The only reason I don't have another buy is because I haven't seen this return to mean yet. So I will not take another buy because I believe this is for now a top. We need a little bit of a correction and then I'll take another buy on the way up.
Okay. All right. So you've given us some big picture stuff, and mainly what you're mainly a euro trader.
I am.
Okay, and we're approaching a potential inflection point in the next few weeks, and that would be one heck of a move back down to 112. That would probably take the Dixie back to what, 97?
Yes, 97. Around, yeah.
Yeah. And let me ask you this. Will commodities that are trying to base get hammered with a strong dollar, or will we possibly see metals and oil doing okay despite a strong dollar? What do you think?
I believe metals and oil will do good despite the strong dollar because of the political risk currently involved.
Okay, and what
right now, metals need to do this, and although I am a very stern supporter of the current American president, and I've got my own reasons for that, but I am a very stern supporter of him. So mainly because of what's happening in my world, in South Africa. But besides that, having set that aside, the guy is good for the economy. Whether the liberals want to see it or not, it doesn't really matter. What we see on the charts tells us that this guy is good for the economy. We had to have a correction in American equities. We had you couldn't see past it. It had to come. So when that correction came, some people would have had to withdraw their money there because they got scared, and that money had to flow back into the dollar. So before this whole contemplation is finished, the money still needs to flow to the dollar, but that's only half of the reason that I believe that we've got a strong dollar for 2018, except the rhetoric from.
You think it's going to be You think it's going to be a hot military conflict that's going to drive this dollar rally as a flight to quality, and maybe that will be successful at one of these military adventures?
Well,
because you were talking about geo risk. You said gold can go up even if the dollar could go up because of geo risk. So what's the geo risk you're looking at?
Well, at the cost of sounding
alarmist.
Yeah, maybe let's use that then.
Hey,
well, at the cost of that,
it's our interview. Go ahead. You go and tell us what you think.
At the cost of that, let's say that to bring it back to mean, the news has to come out wrong for the president. Then this is going to be the kind of situation where he's taken on China. China has said no. We all know how much debt China holds for USA. We know that. We follow this on a daily basis. But if China says this is the problem, and everyone keeps on blaming a different country, in the end, the truth will come out. And here, if you can see on the chart, this is what it looks like. This is Germany 30. This is the DAX we just spoke about. Now, if we look at this on a daily time frame, and I want to explain this because news is normally the trigger, but it's not the answer. It's only the trigger. If you look at this, this is the daily time frame for the DAX. And if I had to extrapolate this forward, I would say that before June, here, in this corner here, before June, this has to make a change in direction. And there's a few reasons why. Let's have a look at the reasons why. Here's support, and I'll tell you now how this ties into Donald. Give me a second. Let's just quickly do our fibs here. Right. Oh, let me just fix that. And there's a reason for this. Fibs cannot just be drawn in price, they can be drawn in time as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. And this is where we're going to get our answer. Let me just show you the answer quickly. Just remove this. Come on. Excuse me, I'm working into a VPS and the internet is slow.
Okay. Someone's saying that
very slow. There we go. So let's quickly fib this for a retracement. And then let's quickly fib this in time. So, time zones.
So we rally into June.
So we rally into June. And there's a reason that this would happen. So to facilitate this, a few things have to happen. And if you look at what's happening currently, there's an answer in here somewhere. And we're going to trade it. The only question is, how long will it take? And I'm willing to bet my shorts that it's between now and the 1st of June. Let's see another answer to the same question. Do you know where the VIX is currently?
You know, this morning, Corne, I was looking at the NASDAQ, and between the two highs, the last high we had, there were 6 weeks between them. And I said, well, yes. 6 weeks from the NASDAQ's last high would take us into, oh no, that would take us into May, early May, 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, 6 weeks, early into May, almost medium May. But do you see the VIX futures open interest on my screen right now?
Yeah, the VIX, yeah.
That has to tell you something. There's definitely something brewing. The question is, we're not sure exactly what it is. We are waiting for it, but we are not sure exactly what it is. I'm willing to bet that the VIX will turn here at least to 0.45M and then give us another chance to enter the VIX long just before that medium May, end of May situation. Question is, what's going to bring it forth?
Okay, go ahead. What do you think is?
Well, it can only be political interest.
Okay,
the seasonal development has passed already.
The Mueller investigation goes away?
I would agree to that. I would also agree to the fact that maybe Kim has a different issue and the Chinese decide that they will reduce the amount of debt that goes to the USA. But that's coming from someone sitting in South Africa. Yeah?
Okay, that Kim wants peace? Is that what you're saying?
I think he would.
Okay.
Does he really stand a chance? No, he doesn't, and he knows that. He's not that stupid. He knows he doesn't stand a chance. And right now, I'll be the first to tell you that I believe that the current president of the United States is going to create MAGA. He is. He's doing all the right things, contrary to what the left believe. And I don't really care what he does or what he doesn't do. What I care about is what my charts tell me. And this is what my charts tell me.
Okay. So we should be looking for a turn here shortly. Maybe it was Friday. Maybe it has to do a little bit more work. But you're looking for a bear market rally in the DAX and a top in the euro. If it starts closing back over 127.10, the picture is changing. And basically, we're going to have 2018 could be the year of the dollar. It could resume.
I believe so. I believe so.
And maybe how about halfway back in the dollar, 61.8 back in the dollar from 104 to 88. That's 16. That would take us back to 97, 98 in the Dixie.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. What a great interview. I'm so glad I reached out to you. You know, I do this randomly on Twitter sometimes. I'll just see a tweet that's interesting to me and, you know, then go to your Twitter, see what your stream looks like. And I'm so glad that, you know, I clicked on your name, Corne. It's a great, was a great interview with some very important macro stuff for people to be aware of.
I really want to tell you that this was my first ever. So excuse if I was a little bit on my nerves. This was my first podcast interview. Normally I just speak to people in Johannesburg, right. See them, right. You know.
Well, now you're you know, you're a global star. So and I'm proud to call you my trading warrior brother. And really a pleasure. Really a pleasure.
And I really hope to do this again.
Oh, it'd be fun. We will do it again. And the best way for people to follow you, Corne, your Twitter handle is CSMIT29. Is that the best way for people to get a hold of you?
That's the best way for people to get hold of me. They can simply just connect with me there. I will always answer every message I find. Okay. Maybe sometimes on the weekends a bit slow, but during the week, always on time.
All right, buddy. So thank you so much. I hope pips rain down on you during the spring trading season, and really was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for edifying the community and crystallizing a few things for me too. Thank you very much, Corne.
Been a pleasure.
Good hunting. Good hunting.
Thank you.
All right, Faith, that's it. I'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Remember, Corne's handle is at C like Charlie, S like Sam, M like Mary, I like I, T like Tom, 29. You got it? Okay. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Good hunting. Thanks again, Corne.
Thank you. Thank you so much.